Stop being burnt by marketing agencies. If you're an insurance broker, when is the right time to work with a marketing agency? When is the wrong time to work with a marketing agency? And what are some of the red flags that you should be looking out for? As an agency owner that works for insurance companies, we turn down around about 80% of the applications that come through to us just because it's not the right timing, or because of the exact things I'm going to mention in this video come up which cause us not to work together. So when is the right time for your insurance broker to work with a marketing agency? I'm going to share my screen through here. We've got a few notes to go through. So when should you hire a marketing agency as an insurance broker? Now, why does this video matter to you? This video is going to stop you getting burnt by marketing agencies, but it's also going to help you to stop thinking about marketing as maybe a magic wand. Okay, the reality is agencies don't fix broken businesses. Insurance brokers also don't scale without some form of accountability. Now, the truth is somewhere in the middle. From what I have learned from working with dozens of insurance brokers, hiring an agency at the wrong time can drain your cash quickly. It can create some form of resentment with agencies in general, and it can also damage your confidence within marketing. So first thing is understand, what you actually need before even starting to initiate some form of conversations with a marketing agency. So the first thing you should be looking at is, before you start to work with a marketing agency, is what's actually broken in the business right now. Where are some of the holes? Where do I lack? Is it actually a traffic problem? Do I have a sales problem? Do we have a process problem? Do we actually have issues with our retention? What exactly are the problems within inside of the business right now? You need to do some core bottleneck analysis. You can find a video somewhere on my page about bottleneck analysis. But an example of what this would look like is, if you already have a solid sales team in place, you have tracked metrics, you know your cost per acquisition, so you know how much you're willing to pay to acquire a customer, you know how long that business typically sticks for, then you might need to work with an agency that can help you drive more traffic, more flow, and more customers through that process. But for example, let's just say your contact rates are a little bit inconsistent. You don't quite know the metrics. You don't know what your contact rate is, you don't know what your close rate is, you don't really know how much you're willing to pay for a customer, you have weak follow-up, and there's just clear sales processes. Working with a marketing agency that drives sort of more customers might not be the best move. You might want to work with something like a sales agency. So it's understanding, right, where are the problems in the business right now, and maybe do I need to work with an agency to help me fix that, because you don't want to start creating solutions for something with a problem that you don't have already. Okay, so leads won't typically fix a bad sales process. More leads, in most cases, just working with an agency, definitely a marketing agency, is just going to amplify the problem that you have already. Now, this is probably the most important thing. When should you not hire a marketing agency? So what are the type of clients that we're turning down regularly when we speak to them? It typically fall into these buckets. One of the most common ones is you're just a one-man band, a solo advisor trying to generate some sort of customers and flow coming through. Now, why is this a problem? Well, one, you're doing everything yourself, so it's going to be very hard for you to juggle 10 things at once. Okay, you don't have a supporting team to be able to help you deal with maybe the extra inquiries and admin work that comes in. And why is this a problem for you? Well, agencies can be expensive. So agency fees plus the money that you spend on ads, let's just say you're doing some form of like PPC, Meta, or a combination of a lot of different things. You've got ad spend as well. That's going to be hard to profit, because you're not going to be able to have that much money to be able to invest into it. Let's just say hypothetically you spend 2K on ads. Okay, and let's just say you have an agency to pay another 2K. Realistically, you've got to make your money back to pay for the ad spend. You've then got to double the return to pay for the agency, and then you have to make money to be able to actually profit off the back end of that. That becomes extremely hard to 3x your money quite quickly when you're trying to do everything yourself. Versus in a different situation, let's just say you had 5, 10, 15K on ads. You then make your money back on that. You then only have to make a small amount to pay for an agency, and then the rest of it becomes profit. So it becomes a lot easier when you have a team in place and you have more money to throw at things. Also, number 2 is you don't want to work with a marketing agency if you don't track your numbers. So if you don't know your contact rate, you don't know your close rate, you don't know how much you're willing to pay for a customer, you don't know typically your earnings per policy, you don't know how long that business sticks for. If you're just flying blind, agencies typically optimize based on data, or good agencies typically optimize on data. So if you've got no data, it's guesswork for everyone, and you're just trying to get people to, create miracles for you. Number 3, if you've never handled inbound before, this is really important. So if you've not purchased leads off third parties, or you currently don't do that, if you've not experimented with paid traffic and dealt with those type of inquiries before, if you don't have any sort of high volume referral systems in place, and the only type of system that you deal with is just word of mouth sales, you can hire an agency in this position, but you just have to understand you're going to have a longer ramp up stage. You're going to expect a lot of friction initially. You're going to have to expect to change your sales process early on, and you're also going to have to be okay to deal with emotional reactions when leads don't first convert, because that sales process, if you only deal with a small amount of word of mouth, is completely different when you start dealing with that inbound inquiries. Number 4 for this is the agency that you're working with or looking to work with doesn't have financial experience. So what I mean by that, they're not in the financial sector. They're not in any form of financially regulated sector. This is a huge one that most people overlook. Insurance marketing isn't your normal local business, e-commerce type of industry. There's FCA numbers, there's financial regulation, there's ad account settings you have to change, there's compliance, financial compliance, there's platform restrictions depending on where you're advertising, there's obviously copy limitations on what you can say, what you can't say. Now, if they don't understand this, your ad accounts are going to get restricted. You're going to deal with massive amounts of non-compliant issues. That might not seem like a problem when you first start, just trying things out. It becomes a big problem as you scale up and you have someone who's not aware of this. Number 5 is that you have no clear goal. I have dealt with so many clients in the past where we don't work with them at this stage, and we wouldn't take someone on who don't have this right now, but you have no clear goal. So if the goal is just, we want more leads, we're just trying to test something out, let's just see what happens, it's the wrong approach. Most agencies that you work with will hold you accountable to an outcome. They need to have an outcome that they're trying to achieve for you, so we can understand what good looks like, what bad looks like, and we can forecast this for you. So, it's revenue targets, where we're looking to go, how long does it take, is it a policy number, amount of policies per month, is it amount of leads, inquiries per month, is it a certain type of sort of GWP amount that we're trying to reach. There has to be a specific North Star metric. This way, when we deal with our client and we have these discovery calls and we go through this in the journey of working together, we can do some forecasting. We can help you understand what good looks like, what is a realistic outcome, what would be a good outcome, what could probably be the worst case scenario out of this. You need to have some form of clear North Star. If you don't have this and you just want to just try things out, just see how it goes, working with an agency is not going to be the best move for you to do that. And one of the last things is you don't have a proven product. So one of the biggest things that we have dealt with in the past is working with an insurance broker that is an established firm. They sell policies. They then had a new book of business to be able to sell something else. They had a sort of new underwriter come in. They could sell a new type of product. But the issue being is that they didn't have any sales history on this. They didn't quite understand the demographic. They didn't have any sort of social proof. There was no internal conviction. So the sales team didn't really have the experience. And the issue with that is that they just wanted the agency to come in, build the offer, build the product, sell the product, scale the offer, and essentially build a business. They brought an agency in to try and build the business for them. The issue is that becomes extremely hard if there's not the accountability on both sides. So when is the right time to work with an agency? Well, if you have solid foundations, so you've got a proven product, and by the way, this is just really an opposite to everything that I've mentioned already. So if you've got a proven product, you've got sales history, you've got strong internal teams, you've got clear metrics, your contact rate, your close rate, how much you're willing to pay for a customer, you understand the breakdown of these numbers. Now, an agency can help you scale that, because we can punch these numbers in and give you a realistic outcome. Okay, based on everything that you've just said there, this is where we think we can do well. This is where we think we probably can't do so well. This is what a bad outcome could look like. This is more like, based off historical data, you're probably going to be more of an outcome for yourself. But then if things work really well, this is, one of the best outcomes that you could have. So you go into the relationship knowing, right, what's going to work, what's not going to work, what realistically am I expecting out of this. Number 2 is you have a marketing team, but you need some sort of specialism. So you can actually work with an agency if you have a marketing team internally. So for example, if your internal teams do a lot of everything else, right? So they do social, they do email, they brochures, they manage the content, They just essentially market holistically the whole brand, but maybe they have no deep paid ads experience, or the experience that they have within that sector is limited and it's not performing that well. Maybe a marketing agency in that instance would be a really good person to work with. Even if it's not paid ads, you can work with a marketing agency that is specific for maybe email. So you just want to deal with a type of marketing agency that specializes again in the things that maybe you aren't performing that well in. Perfect time to bring in a Google Ads expert if you're not that good at it. If your marketing team are limited experience, they don't quite understand what settings to have set up within insurance and understand all the sort of intricate parts that go into it, then working with a marketing agency is going to really compress that learning phase massively for you. The third reason to when you typically would is if you're buying leads off third-party providers. So you're maybe buying leads but you're breaking even, or you're making a slight profit, or some case even a small loss on year one. Your team knows how to handle inbound well. Let's just say you're spending 5, 10, 15, 30,000 a month on buying leads. Working with a marketing agency to build out these processes internally so you don't have to keep buying them, compete with multiple different brokers. This is really the best time. If you are making that work, this type of stuff is an absolute walk in the park. And the fourth on this, you just genuinely want to scale. Okay, so you're not looking to test things. You want to bring on an agency to raise your standards. Sometimes working with an agency, it's a different business. You are not the leader of that business, and a lot of the time these agencies can come in, definitely the likes of when we work with clients, we will hold you accountable to the things that you said that you want to achieve. So you set this North Star for us. This is the type of thing going into the relationship of what we're looking to achieve. And sometimes just having that forced accountability can push you to grow faster and move you out of your comfort zone a little bit. As a business owner, you set direction, but then you work with another business, they expect expectations to rise, they rise the standards, and just overall move with a higher speed. Okay, it's a little bit like, hypothetically, if you're driving a car at 30 miles per hour and I'm driving a car behind you at 110 miles an hour and I slam into the back of you, momentum is going to push you dramatically forward just because of the speed that I am moving. So a lot of the time, having someone come in that just has the higher standards of you, has experienced working with clients above you and doing bigger things than you, can sometimes come in and just completely change your mindset on how things should be done. So that in that case, you just generally want to push forward. Perfect time to work with a marketing agency. And the fifth is you have a budget to do things properly. This is really big. Okay, you need enough ad spend, you need enough runway, you need enough cash flow, you need enough patience. Agencies cost typically more than maybe an internal hire would. So you're paying them really for their experience, their systems, their SOPs, the speed, the low management burden that you're going to have. So you need to make sure that you have enough money to be able to put aside for that, because the last thing you want to do is not spend enough, run it for a couple of months, for example, and, just cut it short before it even had time to materialize. So that can become a very quick way to ruin the relationship, but it also can give you a lot of runway to be able to just make calculated decisions instead of making emotionally led decisions, which typically aren't always the best thing for you to be doing. So what does a good marketing agency look like? What should they be doing with you? Well, the best relationships usually look like this, at least the ones that we work with, the clients who have worked with us for years and the ones that we continue to help month in and month out. Typically have a North Star, something that we're working toward. Now, this typically will change over time, but there is a North Star that every single time, when working with the client and as you go on through the months and a relationship of the client, there is something that we're always working towards. It's really important. We've got revenue targets, we've got forecasting. A good marketing agency, this is exactly what we do with our clients and also what we do with demoing when we potentially work with a client. We're trying to understand if we're the right fit for you and if you're the right fit for us. Something that we will do is sit down, do some forecasting, understand, right, what's the best case scenario here? What's the realistic scenario based on our experience and our historical data? And what is the best case scenario for you going into this? So then you understand, right, exactly, this is how long things are going to take. This is the time frame that it's going to take us. And this is realistically the outcome that we might be able to achieve here. And a good marketing agency will give you defined responsibilities. This is what you're responsible for. This is what we're responsible for. This is what we take charge of. This is what you take charge of. so there's no ambiguity throughout that process. A good marketing agency should be able to turn around and say, this is where we are, this is where we want to take things, this is our current data, this is what success looks like, this is how we think we're going to get there, this is what we need from you, this is what we're handling, and essentially, again, forecast things out financially for you. If you can't articulate that to them, and if they can't articulate that to you, then it's probably a good time to maybe scrap that relationship. For me, if I'll be totally honest, the best type of clients that we work with, have clear direction, they have a realistic expectation of where they're looking to take things, they have proven products in place, they have internal accountability, they have the financial runway, and they understand that marketing is leverage to help them get to where they want to go, not a magic wand. So on the end of that, if you're looking to scale, if you have the foundations, you know your numbers, you want to scale properly, you want to work with an agency that can forecast your direction going forward, then book a call below. What we'll do on that call is review your numbers, we'll forecast realistic outcomes, we'll show you the best case scenarios, we'll show you the worst case scenarios, and we can, if we're a good fit together, work together on this and help you generate more inquiries, bigger scale for your insurance broker. And we'll tell you there and there on that call if this is the right thing and if it's the right time for you, because sometimes the best answer can just literally be, don't hire us. So hopefully you've found some value for that. That is exactly when you should hire a marketing agency for your insurance broker. Like, subscribe, do all that good YouTube stuff. You can find my links below. Appreciate you watching. Some really good videos on this page around about scaling insurance brokers. So if you're interested, check those out. Thanks again.